Hello, hello. It doesn't look like anybody's here yet. Oh, nope, somebody's here. Maybe. You never know, though. So, hello. How are you? Hey, Donna. Okay. So, I know that there's still a lot of people who are dealing with a lot of things, and I wanted to go over, some different people that have asked for prayer. Donna's one. And then Joanne, she did find out more results, and she does leave um, comments publicly on my videos. So I don't think she'd mind me saying that they're still inconclusive, I guess. Hi, Carol. So Joanne still doesn't know why she's having the chronic blood loss, but she is having more tests done. She doesn't know that she doesn't know every like she needs more tests. There nothing is definite about things from what I understand. Um, and then, like I said, Donna, her friend and brother, and different ones she's asked for prayer for, and me, I asked for prayer for Selena. And I'm trying to see if there's anybody else on here that I've talked about before. I can't remember. Um, Cameron, which is Amy from, she's comes to the live streams. I think she's come once. Anyway, she watches my videos. Now I can't think of her name of her channel all of the sudden. But let me see if I can find it real quick. It's Our Blessed Family. I wanted to say that, but I didn't want to be wrong. Um, so yeah, just keep everyone in your prayers, especially the ones in Florida, North Carolina. Let's see. Um, the ones that were in Ian's path. Anyway, wanted to update, learn this AM that they would told my friend he will never get any better, that they have done all they can do for him, and he can't go back home as it is a second floor apartment. That's horrible. He lives not far from me. Um I mean in the same state anyway. But what if he got an well, I didn't want to say unless I didn't want to say unless you said. But what if he got an apartment that was first floor or some sort of other type of accommodations? Are they going to put him in a nursing home? Did he have children? Did he have anyone to care for him? That's awful to have to live in the hospital the rest of your life. But well, you said it now, so I don't have to go ahead and say it. But um, no kids. Oh wow, that's awful. No siblings or anyone. See, that's something that I don't ever want to have to be is without someone. They're out of state. Okay. Well, maybe they can figure out something. Maybe um, what are they called? Assisted living homes. I know that in Birmingham they have more than they do here, and in other places, this up North Alabama they have them too, like Huntsville and the big cities. Which ours is, I mean, we're the capital, but we're not huge, but we're not tiny either. Um, they take a lot of money though. The insurance won't cover. Oh wow, yeah, that's awful that happened. Keep him everybody keep him in your prayers, because God can change things. Whether a doctor says something or not, God can change it. I mean, we don't know what might happen. But as I was saying, all the people that were in the path of Ian that still are, some without power, from what I understand, still a lot of flood water and a lot of damage in Florida, and people have lost their homes, their jobs, just all sorts of things. Um, there was someone else that I was trying to think of, and I cannot think, that I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember. I just can't remember. If it comes to my mind, I'll say. I can imagine he is depressed. That's got to be a horrible thing to have to think about, being an independent person, and then all of a sudden, I mean, he doesn't have any friends that he can live with, or I don't know. It's got to be extremely difficult to have that. But he has a girlfriend, but they do not wish to marry. Okay. Or live together. So they're more like just friends in some ways. Somebody to keep somebody company, I guess. Um, it's a sad situation. He loves her, yeah. You can love someone and I guess still not want to go that step. I'm worried that he needs his space, but won't get it now. He won't get it now. Not if he's got to stay in a hospital or something. And then won't the insurance quit paying for that eventually? I don't know. It's a horrible situation, and we just need to keep him in our prayers, because nobody wants to have that kind of life. And it does happen. It happens often, more than we actually know. It happens to people. But I guess I need to go ahead and get started with the study. And yeah, rehab facility due to MRSA and breathing. Yeah. It's just awful that he has to go through all of that. I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're doing 1 Samuel 15 and 16. And I'm not going to go over the whole 1 Samuel. That would get to be where all of me going back over all of it would be a little bit wild before it was over with, before we finished 1 Samuel. But we know that Saul is the king, and we know that he was king for 2 years before he started making pretty big mistakes. He had started to he had broken customs. He had did a unholy sacrifice, I guess is what you would call it. It was just wrong. And he also had made oaths that were not, that he made an oath that people would not eat until the war or the battle was over, and his son didn't know about this, and he ate, but the people kept Jonathan from being killed. And they had took up for Jonathan, and then we know that there's a lot of war going on with Saul, a lot of war that he is involved in with different places. And I believe these wars had to happen, but they're not something that is good. No war is good no war is good. You don't want to have to deal with war, but we're going to have war no matter what. That's just going to happen all over, the world's just going to be at war at times. Different places are. But if your leaders are not following God, if they're doing their own thing, it can make everything worse. It can make it worse for the people. And so we're going to go into 1 Samuel 15, and I'm going to start reading with that. Samuel also said to Saul, "The Lord sent me to anoint you king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore heed the voice of the words of the Lord. Thus says the Lord of hosts, I will punish Amalek for what he did to Israel, how he ambushed him on the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and attack Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, infant and nursing child, ox and sheep, camel and donkey." So what God is telling him is, get rid of everything, any trace of these people, get rid of them. That way there's no more of them. Not even their animals can live, which when I read that the first time, I was like, why would God want them to kill the babies? Why would God want them to kill women? Why? I mean, the children. It's just like it. I still don't understand it. Why God would want that, other than He wanted these people wiped off the face of the earth. Is the way it sounds to me. It's like still dumbfounding to me, I guess you could say. Then verse 4. So Saul gathered the people together and numbered them in Telaim, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 men of Judah. Y'all notice how the numbers are getting better that he has? Because when the kid grew up, they would rise against him. Yeah, that's true. But it's like still they're a baby, you know? I know why, but they're a baby. They're a child, you know. That's just my thoughts. But anyway, let me see, where was I at? But the number, it seems like every time that there's been something, they talked about like how many men are with them, how many people are with them. The number is greater. So the following, and for some reason that stood out. And Saul came to the city of Amalek and lay in wait in the valley. Then Saul said to the Kenites, "Go, depart, get down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For you showed kindness to all the children of Israel when they came up out of Egypt." So the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites. So the Kenites were living amongst the Amalekites. And I'm wondering, now I don't think that it says anything about it in the Bible. It could possibly, I don't know. But were the Amalekites and the Kenites intermarried? Did some of the Amalekites go with the Kenites? Were some of the children taken with the Kenites? Kind of makes me wonder, like, did they adopt some of them? It's just something that come to my mind. It doesn't even mean anything other than it came to my mind. Because there is opportunity. And God didn't mention the Kenites when he said to go destroy the Amalekites. Where was that at? So the Kenites depart. Okay, I read that. Verse 7. And Saul attacked the Amalekites from Havilah all the way to Shur, which is east of Egypt. He also took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. He's already breaking God's word. I mean, what God had said. You know, he's already breaking the rules. He's already taking the king alive when he was told everybody must die. So Saul is just, he is rebelling. It feels to me like he has a very rebellious spirit. Even though he has the spirit of God, he has a very rebellious spirit. Like, he has become, like, at first, he was following God and he was doing things like he should have, but then he kind of started getting prideful and he started doing what he wanted to do. He's letting flesh rule over, it feels like. And let's see. But Saul, the people spared. Well, I already read that part. Nope, I didn't. But Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep, the oxen, the fatlings, the lambs, and all that was good, and were unwilling to utterly destroy them, but everything despised and worthless that they utterly destroyed. So now they're taking the animals. Now they're taking all the animals, all the good stuff, the good flocks, the good herds. They're taking all of that as their bounty. God didn't say do that. He said get rid of all of it. Verse 10, now the word of the Lord came to Samuel, saying, I greatly regret that I have set up Saul as king, for he has turned back from following me and has not performed my commandments. And God said he regrets it. Now, God knows everything that's going to happen. I feel like God knew this was going to happen. And I may be jumping ahead of myself. This is a thought I had. God knew this was going to happen. Saul was the first king that the people asked for. And I think in a way, God was showing the people what will happen if man is leading instead of God. Because every time that man is doing his own thing and not listening to God, bad things happen. It just does. And so he's saying he regrets it. He regrets appointing Saul. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried out to the Lord all night. So when Samuel rose early in the morning to meet Saul, it was told Samuel, saying, Saul went to Carmel, and indeed he set up a monument for himself, and he has gone on around, passed by, and gone down to Gilgal. So Saul went and set up a monument for himself. Very prideful. That's the only thing I can think is he's very prideful. Then Samuel went to Saul, and Saul said to him, Blessed are you of the Lord. I have performed the commandment of the Lord. But Samuel said, What then is this bleating of the sheep in my ears and the lowing of the oxen which I hear? Samuel is not believing Saul's lie. He hears it. There's proof. There's animals there. And Saul said, They have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and the oxen to sacrifice to the Lord your God. Well, that's not what it said before. And the rest we have utterly destroyed. So now he's saying, oh, well, those are a sacrifice. We're going to sacrifice those to God. Then Samuel said to Saul, Be quiet, and I will tell you what the Lord said to me last night. And he said to him, Speak on. So Samuel said, When you were little in your own eyes, were you not head of the tribes of Israel? And did not the Lord anoint you king over Israel? Now the Lord sent you on a mission and said, Go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are consumed. Why then did you not obey the voice of the Lord? Why did you swoop down on the spoil and do evil in the sight of the Lord? So he's asking him, why did you do this? What was that? I just heard a noise at my front door and the dogs are barking. I'll be right back. I'm back. It was nothing. Nothing at my door. But the dogs are barking at... We have new neighbors, and they're getting utilities and things put in across the street. But I was wondering, what was that? Anyway, where was that? So Samuel is telling Saul everything he's done. He already knows what he's done because God's already told him. I mean, he may not know the exact details, but he knows that Saul is prideful, that he is big in his own sight. Let's see. And Saul said to Samuel, But I have obeyed the voice of the Lord and gone on the mission on which the Lord sent me and brought back Agag, king of Amalek. I have utterly destroyed the Amalekites, but the people took the plunder of the sheep and oxen, the plunder, sheep and oxen, and the best of the things which should have been utterly destroyed to sacrifice to the Lord at Gilgal. He's blaming it on the people now. I mean, he was there. Yeah, the people might have had something to do with it, but he's the king. He's supposed to be leading these people, but instead he's pointing fingers. Oh, they did it. They did it. He's not saying, I didn't do my job. I didn't stop it. He's the one that chose to bring Agag. How do you say it? I don't know. But he's the one that chose to bring the king. with him to keep him alive. But he sits there and he says, I have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. Well, no, he didn't, because there's still at least one alive. So Samuel said, Has the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? In other words, he's saying, well, it says, behold, to obey is better than sacrifice. Doesn't God like sacrifices? I mean, doesn't God like obedience more than a sacrifice? Doesn't God want you to be truthful and willing to follow him more than he wants your sacrifice of the animals? Because Saul is not willing to obey him, not willing to follow him, because if he was, he wouldn't have taken the animals, he wouldn't have taken the other king. And to heed then the fat of rams, which I should have read that already. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you from being king. And I wanted to look up about witchcraft because I just wanted to know what the Bible said about it. I only chose 3 scriptures. They are not all the scriptures, and I'm just going to read those. And then, I might talk about it a little bit, but witchcraft was something that was totally against God. So, Exodus 22:18, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. So he wanted the witches to die. Leviticus 19:26, ye shall not eat anything with the blood, which that's already happened, we know, because of Saul's saying people don't eat, and then they ended up killing things and eating it with the blood. Neither shall ye use enchantment nor observe the times, which I don't know what that means by observe the times. Maybe I should have looked that up. I don't know if it means like trying to tell the future. I think that's probably what it means, but I could be wrong. Leviticus 20:27, a man or woman that has a familiar spirit or that is a wizard shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones. Their blood shall be upon them. So witchcraft is very evil. And God is saying, Samuel is telling Saul that stubbornness is as bad as witchcraft. It says, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. That's pretty bad. If it means, if you're being rebellious, that means that you should be stoned. That means you're not allowed to live. That's pretty bad. I don't want to be a rebel. I used to say I was a rebel, but I was like just different from everybody else. But I don't know so much. I mean, I don't want to rebel against God is what I'm trying to say, really. But if rebellion is that bad, and see, I've read this several times, but I never paid attention to that. And the reason why I wanted to look up witchcraft was because I wanted to know what happened. What did God say about it? And that's only 3 of the scriptures. There's more, I'm sure. But if it is that bad, there's no way I'd want to rebel against God, because that means I'm worthy of death. That's what it means to me. If I'm rebelling, I am dead. And actually, if you're not for God, you're against him, and you are dead. And you're dead in sin. That's just the way it is. From what I've studied, you're not alive with God. So I'm going to verse 24. Then Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord and your word. Well, hold on. I skipped over something. I did read it, but I didn't talk about it. Samuel tells him, because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he also has rejected you from being king. So God is stripping Saul of his titles. He's stripping him of everything, which we're going to see that Samuel is going to do something. Well, we'll see. We'll get there. Then Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord and your words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Now, therefore, see, he's saying, I listened to the people. I was scared of them, so I did what they wanted. He's blaming it on the other people. He's not doing what God said because he's afraid of the effects of what the people might do. Well, he's king. They asked for him. They're supposed to be doing what he said, right? And my thought is, if they're not going to do what he says, they're not going to do what God says. They're going to fight against God if they're going to fight against man that is there representing God. That's what the king was supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be like his mouth, well, not his mouthpiece so much, but he's supposed to be following God's commands. And if the people can't follow this man that they asked for, how are they going to follow God? That was my thoughts. Now therefore, please pardon my sin and return with me that I may worship the Lord. But Samuel said to Saul, I will not return with you, for you have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you from being king over Israel. So that's the second time that he said he rejected him, and it's the first time that he told him, I will not return with you. And as Samuel turned around to go away, Saul seized the edge of his robe, and it tore. So Samuel said to him, the Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today and has given it to a neighbor of yours who is better than you. So that's 3 times he's told him, you're not king anymore. And also the strength of Israel will not lie nor relent, for he is not a man that he should relent. So God is not a man. He is not going to relent. He is not going to give up on Israel. That is what he's saying. That's what I think he's saying. I could be wrong. But then it says, then he said, I have sinned, yet honor me now, please, before the elders of my people, before Israel, and return with me that I may worship the Lord your God. So Saul's saying, go with me in front of the people. You know, let them know that I'm still with God. You know, I believe it feels like it's all a front. That's what it feels like to me. I could be wrong, but it looks like Saul does not want to look like God has left him. He is still very prideful. That's the way it feels to me when he says this. So Samuel turned back after Saul, and Saul worshiped the Lord. So Samuel had said he was not going to go with him, but then he decided, yes, I will. I don't know if Samuel should have done that or not. I don't think he should have, honestly, because I don't think he should, but God had not told him not to, but I don't think he should have. Then Samuel said, bring Agag, king of the Amalekites, here to me. So Agag came to him cautiously. And Agag says, surely the bitterness of death is past. So he's saying, surely y'all don't want to kill me. Surely I'm not worthy of death. Surely you're done. You've killed all my people. You've taken my animals. You've killed all the others. But Samuel said, as the sword has made women childless, so shall your mother be childless among women. So in other words, he says he's gonna die that day. And Samuel hacked Agag in pieces before the Lord at Gilgal. So instead of Saul doing his job, Samuel did it. Samuel hacked Agag into pieces. And I wonder, did Samuel do that out of anger? Was it righteous anger? Did he do it because he was wanting to follow God, even though Saul didn't? Why was he the one that finished the job? It just makes me wonder, because I don't know. Then Samuel went to Ramah, and Saul went up to his house at Gibeah of Saul. And Samuel went no more to see Saul until the day of his death. Nevertheless, Samuel mourned for Saul, and the Lord regretted that he had made Saul king over Israel. So Samuel didn't go back to see Saul. And, Samuel was the prophet. He was the holy man. He was the one who went to tell Saul, who was supposed to be king, but then he was kicked out of office. He was the one who told him what God was saying. But Saul didn't want to listen. He wanted nothing to do with it. He didn't want to obey God. So he lost his place. So now we're on chapter 16, and I'm going to start reading there. It says, now the Lord said to Samuel, how long will you mourn for Saul? Seeing I've rejected him from reigning over Israel, fill your horn with oil and go. I am sending you to Jesse of the Bethlehemite, for I have provided myself a king among his sons. So we know that Saul was a Benjamite. So now God is sending Samuel to a Bethlehemite. We know who that's going to be. We know it's going to be David, but it doesn't say how long that he had mourned, but God was saying it's time for you to stop mourning and to go do your job. That's just simplified way. That's my thoughts of the way. That's what I think that it sounds like. And Samuel said, "How can I go? If Saul hears it, he will kill me." So Samuel was afraid of this man because I believe he knew that Saul was crazy. I think Saul was a little bit crazy. But the Lord said, "Take a heifer with you and say, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Then invite Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you what you shall do. You shall anoint for me the one I name to you." So God has given him a way that he can go that Saul won't do anything. He won't say anything. Because I believe that Saul is a very vengeful man. I believe he is someone who would kill a man of God just to get his way. He's very prideful. He's a showman. He wants people to see how good he is. It's the way it sounds to me from reading the Bible myself. So Samuel did what the Lord said and went to Bethlehem. And the elders of the town trembled at his coming and said, "Do you come peaceably?" So the people were kind of afraid of him. And he said, "Peaceably, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Sanctify yourselves and come with me to the sacrifice." I made it sound like that was a question about peaceably, but it was no question. It says, "Peaceably, I have come to," he's saying peaceably. I'm coming in peace. I come in peace. That's what he meant. Then he consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice. And I do believe it was, I don't remember which chapter it was, but who that Samuel invited to the sacrifice was important. So it was when they came that he looked at Eliab and said, "Surely the Lord's anointed is before him." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not look at his appearance or at his physical stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord does not see as a man sees. For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." So he's saying his heart is not where it needs to be. He does not have a heart to follow me. So Jesse called Abinadab and made him pass before Samuel. And he said, "Neither has the Lord chosen this one." Then Jesse made Shammah pass by, and he said, "Neither has the Lord chosen this one." Thus Jesse made 7 of his sons pass before Samuel. And Samuel said to Jesse, "The Lord has not chosen these." And Samuel said to Jesse, "Are all the young men here?" Then he said, "There remains yet the youngest, and there he is, keeping the sheep." He didn't even bring his youngest son to the feast. He didn't bring David to the feast. That just sounds like he wasn't even Jesse's not even doing what he's supposed to be doing. Because Samuel said, "Bring your sons, bring, all of them. I want all of them there." And Samuel said to Jesse, send and bring him, for we will not sit down till he comes here." So he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, with bright eyes, and good looking. And the Lord said, "Arise, anoint him, for this is the one." Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel arose and went to Ramah. So now David has been anointed king. And I want to say he was young. He was like 15 or something, but I could be wrong. I don't know how old he was, but David was just a shepherd. He was a simple guy. He wasn't, he was just a shepherd. He was watching the sheep. We will find that he knew what his job was. He knew it. He knew how to do his job. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and the distressing spirit from the Lord troubled him. So, let's see, where's that? Oh, I don't even need to look at my notes. I need to quit taking notes, I guess, because I already say it before I ever even go there. So the distressing spirit, it says a distressing spirit from God is, well, no, wait a minute. A distressing spirit from the Lord troubled him. I don't really think, now in my own mind, a distressing spirit would be a negative spirit. I don't think the Lord has those. I don't think they're his part of his crew, part of his employee, that kind of thing. I just think that God allowed the distressing spirit to come on Saul. And honestly, whenever you don't have the Holy Spirit, when you don't have the Spirit of the Lord, you have a distressing spirit, whether you know it or not. People may think they're happy. This is from my own experience. I thought I was happy whenever I didn't, when I wasn't following the Lord. I was doing what I wanted. I didn't think about the circumstances or what it might cause, or, I was doing what I wanted. And I was really distressed a lot. So whenever the Spirit of the Lord left Saul, he was left with stress. He was left with a distressing spirit. And I don't really think that that spirit came from God, but God allowed that spirit. I could be wrong. It doesn't actually say that. And it does say a few times, which we'll read on, that it was a spirit from God. It's confusing to me. I put it that way. I don't think it was actually from God, but God allowed it to happen. Maybe. I don't know. But it did kind of make me think more when I was reading that, and I was trying to figure out, because negativity does not come from God. Bad things don't come from God, and a distressing spirit would be negative. It'd be bad. I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to go on. And Saul's servant said to him, surely a distressing spirit from God is troubling you. Yet let our master now command your servants who are before you to seek out a man who is skillful player on the harp. And it shall be that he will play it with his hands when the distressing spirit from God is upon you, and you shall be well. So one of his people is saying, Saul, why don't we get somebody to come play the harp from you, and then this spirit will go away. You'll be soothed. It will help you. So Saul said to his servants, provide me now a man who can play well, and bring him to me. Then one of the servants answered and said, look, I have seen a son of Jesse, a Bethlehemite, who is skillful in playing, and a mighty man of valor, which I did look up what valor meant. It means strength, courage, passion. A man of war means you're valiant, you're mighty. Prudent in speech, in other words, he could speak well. He didn't stumble over his words like I do. And a handsome person, and the Lord is with him. So this servant knew that God was with David already. Therefore Saul sent messengers to Jesse and said, send me your son David, who is with the sheep. So I feel like God is making a way for David to get closer to the king, closer to the kingdom. So David came to Saul and stood before him, and he loved him greatly, and he became his armor bearer. Then Saul sent to Jesse, saying, please let David stand before me, for he has found favor in my sight. And so it was, whenever the Spirit from God was upon Saul, that David would take the harp and play it with his hand. Then Saul would become refreshed and well, and the distressing spirit would depart from him. Now, I really don't feel like the distressing spirit was leaving because of the harp. I believe it was because David was there. Now, I don't know. I could be wrong. But I feel like God used David. And I also kind of think that God put David there because, remember, he's a young guy. He's I don't know how old he was whenever he was anointed. Let's see if Google knows. Hey, Google. She's not talking to me today. Hey, Google. She don't like me. How old was David when he was anointed king? She don't like me. How old was David when he was anointed king? So this says 30 years old. Was he? I thought he was younger than that. Let's see. This is 2 Samuel 5. David was 30 years when he became king. That doesn't mean he was 30 when he was anointed king. Think of how music can be soothing, plus the presence of David is someone he liked. Yeah, that's why I think that it happened. But, okay, let me go back. How old was David when he was anointed?
30 years old.
Okay, that's not, no, shh, calm down. How old was David when Samuel anointed him?
30 years old.
She lying. That's when he became king, not when he was anointed king. I don't know. We'll maybe figure it out soon. I don't know. But let's see. Because I thought he was really young whenever he fought Goliath. Hey Google. How old was David when he fought Goliath?
Here's what I found.
Here's what she found. I'm not watching a YouTube video. I like YouTube and all that, but I don't want to watch YouTube. But that says how was he? Hey Google. How old was David when he fought Goliath?
Showing pictures that match.
Okay, we're just going to not use Google anymore. It doesn't matter. Maybe we'll figure it out. But I thought he was young. Why was I thinking he was like 15? Maybe I heard it from a pastor or something before. But I don't know. It doesn't matter. Maybe we'll figure it out. Maybe somebody else will find it. Maybe we'll look for it somewhere. But anyway, I believe that God had put David with Saul for David to learn how to be a king. Even though Saul, I keep wanting to say the wrong names. Even though Saul was not the best king, he did know. He knew the ropes. He knew what he was supposed to do, what he wasn't supposed to do. He knew how to lead the people, even though he was scared of people. I just kind of feel like that's why he was put there in the king's court. I could be wrong. He was 15. Where did you find that, Flora? Because I was thinking he was 15. So that means he was with Saul for 15 years before he actually became king. But I was thinking he was 15. You know, we could have heard the same preacher say it, Flora. She's my sister, so we've been to church together before lots of times. We used to go to the same church. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but it is something that I'm kind of wondering how long he was soothing Saul and fighting Saul, which we'll find out more about that soon, before he actually became the actual king. But between the anointing and the actual being in the throne, on the throne or whatever, you know. But don't trust Google either, because she doesn't answer. She's like a kid who doesn't really want to answer a question. Just trying to get through it. But anyways, I feel like with the way that Saul went about his reign, while there was no bad negative things talked about in the beginning 2 years, but then everything after, he just started messing up. I believe he started getting prideful. He started caring more about what others thought instead of caring about what God thought. And that's something that happens quite a bit. We do that a lot. We start looking at, oh, well, what's the world going to think? What if I look crazy? What if I look weird? You ask Siri. Oh, you ask Siri, I ask Google because she's an Apple girl and I'm not. But um, is Siri smarter than Google? Y'all, I don't know. Anyway, where was I at? I don't even know what I'm saying now because I just do that. But I don't know where I was at. I don't know what I was talking about. I was talking about Saul. I know that. But he started messing up, and God took him out of office. He took him out of his position because he just, I don't think he could handle it. I think he allowed so much of the other things to run him. And the thing is, now with us, with humans, whenever like someone gets in office or gets a higher position, they can be the most humble, loving, wonderful person, but then if they are not closely connected with God, if they don't have a super deep relationship with God, and sometimes even when they do have a deep relationship with God, they'll start letting the world just creep in a little bit at a time, and they may not even realize that they're letting it creep in. And this little thing, they'll just let it go, and they're like, oh, well, that's okay because God doesn't care about that. Oh, well, that's okay. God doesn't care about that. Oh, we can do this because it doesn't say that in the Bible. Technically, it really just kind of says it. But in our language today, it's totally different from way back then. You know, that kind of thing. You'll get in this mindset where that you start letting stuff go that you were very adamant about. And then sometimes you'll find that you're not listening to your convictions. You're not listening to God's small voice. You're not listening to that still small voice, and you're not following him anymore because maybe you're not reading your Bible as much as you should because other things have, become more important, or because you have to look a certain way, or you might lose this position. And instead of trusting God with the position, you start trusting yourself. And I think that's what Saul did. He started trusting himself instead of God, and he started allowing the people to rule him instead of him ruling the people. And he started allowing the people to rule him instead of God ruling him. And he just fell out of his practice. He fell out of his humble place, and he started doing things that were cruel, that were wrong, that were just other people. Samuel had to come in and take care of what he had left undone because there was one more Amalekite that was left, and Saul wasn't doing anything. He didn't stop and say, hey, God said to get rid of these people. I need to do it. So Samuel had to do it for him, and that's something that happened. And then Samuel had to anoint David, and David's daddy Jesse didn't even bring him like he was told, and I wonder why. Did he think he was just this kid that didn't deserve to go to the sacrifice? Didn't deserve to go meet the holy man? Didn't deserve to go and meet the prophet? Um, Is it that he had nobody else to watch his sheep? We don't know really at this point what was going on. We just know that nobody else was who God wanted, which we do know if we've read the Bible that David is not perfect either. He's not going to be perfect. And it's like these humans, they start off good, then they start messing up because that's humans. That's what we do. We might start off good on something, but we will make mistakes. And if we don't get back on the right track, we'll be thrown out of the kingdom. That's the way that I get this about Saul. He didn't get back on the right track. He had lots of chances. God kept telling him things to do, and he just did not follow God. And so God removed himself from him. And I feel like that's what can happen. And whenever God is not with you, you're going to have the distressing spirit, where you're going to have the things that are not comfortable, not happy, and you'll have loneliness. You won't have what you need. But let's see. We're going to do next week 17, which is where David and Goliath's story. I don't know if I want to just do that and focus on that story because there's a lot there, or if we want to go ahead and just do 18 too and just keep doing like 2 chapters a week. Because we're going to start learning more about David. Let's just go ahead and do 17 and 18. And that way, yeah, I think that'll be good. I think that's what we'll do. Let me make my note. I need to write it on my note because y'all know me. I can't keep up with it. If I don't write it down, which I'll know it's the next 2 chapters. But we'll do those 2 chapters for next time. And I hope that y'all got something from this. I know I have a lot of thoughts and stuff that may not be right. I don't know. But whenever you're reading the Bible and the thoughts come to your mind and they make you want to study more, that's good. I don't necessarily get everything right. I'm not saying I do, but I also feel like if I'm not getting it right, God will show me, and I will know that knocking out 2 chapters is good for me. All right, Carol. So I really do enjoy just studying book by book. And I know we started this out by studying the women of the Bible, which, we would run out of women. And then we started doing subjects. But I feel like if we do book by book, we're going to hit all the women. We're going to go through all the subjects. We're going to go through all of it. And maybe we should have started with Genesis, but I started. Then I just wanted to read the next one. And, it's just the way it worked out. But I know that I'm enjoying learning more each week, and I get a lot from it whenever I am studying it to talk to you guys, and then I get more from it whenever I'm talking to you guys. And I really appreciate y'all doing this with me and hanging out with me during this time. But I got to get back to my normal chores, because today is day 4 of the cleaning challenge, and we got to do it. Y'all, if you're doing it with me, today is the faucets and shower heads. And if you have hard water, you know how gross they can get. Because calcium and lime will build up. But yeah, mine are soaking right now. But anyways, I will see you guys next time for the next study for live on Tuesday at 2 Central. And tonight I have a video for it's day 3 video of the cleaning challenge. And we did curtains yesterday, and the curtains are all washed. I'm just going to give y'all a little sneak peek of it's not a peek, but it's a little bit of what happened. I did get it done. Spoiler alert, that's what it is. But there's more to it than just that on that video. But I will see you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And remember, don't take any wooden nickels, and be sweet.